Shalom.
Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. And this truly is a Sabbath, a holy day that Yahweh has enjoined unto us. You know, we hear a lot of terms that people are speaking. We hear Yom Kippur or Purim, which is the day of coverings, but we just call it the Atonement. This is the holiest day of the year to those that serve the Creator of all things. The act of being covered is being reconciled back to our Creator, and goes back to the garden and stretches forward to the second coming of Christ. After Adam's transgression, he and his wife covered themselves with fig leaves. This was an insufficient covering, so the Most High Yahweh covered them with the skins of an animal. By covering them with an animal, we thereby have the first sacrifice for sin without it being mentioned. The animal's blood was shed for the spiritual covering, as blood must be shed to make an atonement for sin, and the animal's skin provided a natural covering. And we'll find that coverings often come in pairs. Likewise, we had an insufficient or temporary covering with the act of the animal sacrifices until a better sacrifice was found in Yahshua, whose blood became our spiritual covering. This, of course, typifies the Passover, in which the blood of the lamb covers the people, or covered the people, from the destroyer that came and killed all the firstborn of the Egyptians. After man's fall from perfection, a plan was put in place to put him back into the garden, his earthen paradise. This plan includes a set of holy days that systematically reconcile us back to our Creator. Each holy day is an important step towards reconciliation, and none of the process can be left out. Yahshua the Mashiach followed the plans verbatim, and his deeds and sacrifice went according to what is written. In order for us to achieve complete reconciliation, we must follow our portion of the plan. His law and commandments instruct us on what we ought to do in terms of serving Yahweh and being his representatives of holiness here on earth. For this is the purpose of a servant. His statutes or ordinances instruct us on how to keep those laws and walk orderly amongst them. His judgments are the chastisements that we receive when we step away from the holy hedge that is his culture, the culture of the Hebrews that directs us. We're going to start in Ephesians chapter 2 and verses 11 through 6. Now, a lot of people would hear that we are observing these things, and they would figure that they must be dealing with this carnal law, because people do not want to totally respect the setup that Yahweh has for us. They have another chair for that, sister, man?
Oh, no, I'm fine.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to open up in Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. I want to read, remember what it says in 1 Peter 2 and 5. It says, "You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices." So the sacrifices were not done away with. They were replaced. The sacrifices are no longer carnal. The sacrifices are spiritual. But the same thing applies. So those things that we do, the works that we offer up, all of the deeds that we do, those are spiritual sacrifices, acceptable to Elohim by Yahshua the Mashiach. So in fact, that sacrifices are not done away with. They have become spiritual and not natural sacrifices. Let's go to Ephesians 2 and start at verse 11.
Ephesians 2 verse 11. "Wherefore remember that you, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands."
So he's saying, you being in past Gentiles, who are called the uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision, those are the Jews. The circumcision is the Jews, the uncircumcision are the Gentiles. Because the law of circumcision was not given unto the Gentiles, it was given unto the Jew. So understand, when you're having these conversations with Gentiles and they say you don't have to do the law, understand that there's first of all a difference between what the Jew has to do and what the Gentile has to do. So don't get caught up. This is why you have no business being taught by a Gentile, because the things that he can do and get away with, you can't. You need to understand the difference. Go ahead.
Verse 12. That at that time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without Elohim in the world.
And this was us before we came into this world. We were alienated from the commonwealth of Israel without a care in the world, which means that we were spiritually dead. Go ahead.
But now in the Mashiach Yahshua, you who sometimes were far off are made near by the blood of the Mashiach. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances.
Contained in ordinances. The issue is we don't understand the difference between a law and ordinances. This is what I was dealing with in the introduction. When they are dealing with that we don't have to do that sacrifice, we're talking about that one particular thing and the ordinances that was contained in that told you how to sacrifice those animals for your sin. What that ordinance is, those ordinances of that sacrifice was done away for a time. Because when you get back in that book and read about the setting up of that kingdom, I think it's Ezekiel 20, you'll find that those sacrifices come back. But the Messiah can't be re-sacrificed for sin. Go ahead.
For to make in himself of two one new man, so making peace, and that he might reconcile both unto Elohim in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby.
All right. And there where we have that he might reconcile both unto Elohim in one body by his torture stake, having slain the enmity thereby. Now you'll have, and I wanted to get that out of the way because you have a lot of people that say we don't have to do these things. But remember, you have a lot of people doing, you hear, especially these televangelists, they'll do their speaking in tongues and do a whole lot of goo gobbly and make people feel like they are really doing something awesome. But when you deal with that, speaking in tongues, what was happening? All of the Jews that had been scattered were coming back to the land to keep the holy day. So, and this also takes care of all of those people that say, you need to learn Hebrew to truly understand this word. All of those people truly understood the word because they were back in the Holy Land keeping the holy day. And they didn't speak Hebrew. This is the whole purpose of the speaking in tongues. They said, how is it we hear every man in the tongue that we were born? Yahweh said, I will speak to these people with stammering lips and another tongue. We speak English. We still speak this word. All of those people were back in the holy city from all these different places, and they all was able to communicate. That was the purpose of the tongues. And all of them spoke and had the same word. That same word was in different languages. So don't let nobody, this right here takes care of two things. When you deal with that speaking in tongues, it takes care of those people that's talking about you got to learn Hebrew, and it takes care of those people that say you ain't got to do keep this law, because that was after the birth, death, and resurrection of the Messiah, and they are still keeping those holy days. So what's in this book and what man has put out, it doesn't add up. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23, and now we can deal with our atonement, learning what the reconciliation is all about, being reconciled back to Yahweh, our Elohim. So, you know, you look at those things and you read those things in the New Testament. You go into Ephesians, you go into Acts, You can even go in Acts 21 and find out when they had a one of those people were talking about that Saul was teaching against the law or something like that. They said, look, man, we got some problems, man. These brothers about to do something to you because they saying you teaching against the law. So for them to say, look, we got some brothers over here that's done made a vow. You need to go over here, be with these brothers, let them go through their purification process, and you go through these things with them so you can prove to these brothers that you are not teaching against Yahweh's law. Because they was about to do something to that brother. But this in turn lets you know that they wasn't doing that. The law was nailed to the cross. So wherever that came from, it didn't come from this book. It did not come from this book, and it did not come from those apostles, because that is not what they were teaching. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 26.
Verse 26. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, also in the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
Okay, now a lot of people would tell you don't have to do this anymore because we don't offer up natural sacrifices. See, this law was never natural. It was always spiritual. But Yahweh had to deal with the natural people in a time until he could bring forth a better sacrifice and show the spiritual part in the law. It was always there. You also see also on the 10th day of this 7th month. Now you notice ain't no name for that month. See, we don't have names for our months except for the one. And that is Abib, which is what we call that so-called April. So we didn't get names. But it says on the 10th day of the 7th month. So that means from the new moon, the 9th day at even is when that starts. Now, you'll have a lot of people arguing whether or not it's this day or this day dealing with the new moon. The first thing you'll find is people don't deal with how to count the new moon. Some people count the new moon as soon as the moon goes dark. Another person will count the new moon among the sliver. But then when you deal with the fact that Yahweh is an Elohim of order, you'll find that the new moon actually goes dark for more than one day. So if you're going by that the moon is dark, which day is the new moon in? Because it's 2.5, almost 3 days that moon is dark. So which day is the new moon? And you'll find that when it first goes dark, you have the earth here and the moon is a little bit cocked. Then when you get to that other day, they both line right up. That is the alignment. That is new moon. That is the complete cycle of 360 all the way around. It's going to start and end at the same place. That is new moon. A complete cycle. Why would Yahweh start half cocked on the left or half cocked on the right? It doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense. And because people don't deal with how to do the new moon, they can't get their days right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 28. And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people.
So in other words, Yahweh is saying this is pretty important to him. Go ahead.
You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute for forever throughout your generations.
How long?
All your dwellings.
How long?
Forever.
Throughout what?
All your dwellings.
Okay. So wherever you live, as long as you live. That pretty much covers everything. I don't see what the confusion is. Forever, as long as you live, wherever you live. Where is the confusion? Well, we don't have to do this because we're not in our land. What? That doesn't make any sense. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, from even until even shall you celebrate your Sabbath.
So, in other words, if you don't know how to count the days, you'll say, well, he just messed up, because before they said on the 10th day, and then right here it said the 9th day at even. The 9th day at even is the 10th day. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 16. You have to read this law so that we can get a foundation as to what is going on, what Yahweh told us to do, and then you'll find out exactly what it was Yahshua was doing. You'll find out exactly what was going on in the New Testament. Christ wasn't just doing things just to be doing things. He was following his Father's law. All of this stuff had a purpose, had a reason. Go ahead.
Verse 1.
Yep.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they offered before Yahweh and died.
Now, so in other words, you can't deal with holy things however it is you want to deal with them. You're going to have to deal with holy things the way Yahweh has written it down. And these brothers thought hey, we can deal with this in no kind of way. No, you can't. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Speak unto Aaron your brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments, therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. So
he can't go into the holy place in the old kind of way. He has to be dressed in the holy garments, which is that linen. Why do you think it is? It said when Yahshua returns, he shall stain his linen. So we know that linen, it is holy garments. This is what Yahshua shall be wearing at his return. Go ahead.
And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering.
2 goats. Go ahead.
And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before Yahweh at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for Yahweh, and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which Yahweh's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before Yahweh, to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself.
Now remember verse 10. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before Yahweh. It shall make an appearance before Yahweh to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. Go ahead.
And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off the altar before Yahweh, and his hands full of sweet incense beaten small, and bring it within the veil. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before Yahweh, that the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is upon the testimony, that he die not. And he shall take of the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward. And before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people, and bring his blood within the veil, and do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat and before the mercy seat.
So he's in the holiest of holies, taking that atonement blood to the mercy seat, which remember, this is the holy place where Yahweh said, I will commune with the children of Israel from. Go ahead.
And he shall make an atonement for the holy place because of the uncleanliness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanliness. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out and have made an atonement for himself and for his household and for all the congregation of Israel. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before Yahweh, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood of the bullock and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanliness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of the reconciling the holy place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions, and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness.
All right. He confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and sending that goat into the wilderness by the hands of a fit man. All right.
And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat into the wilderness. And Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall put off the linen garments which he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. And he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come forth, and offer his burnt offering, and the burnt offering of the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people.
Verse 23, and Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall put off the linen garments which he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. So not to sanctify the people with the holy garments. Go ahead.
And the fat of the sin offering shall he burn upon the altar. And he that let go the goat for the scapegoat shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward come into the camp. And the bullock for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make an atonement in the holy place, shall one carry forth without the camp, and they shall burn in the fire their skins, and their flesh, and their dung. And he that burneth them shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward he shall come into the camp. And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls, and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country, or a stranger that sojourneth among you. For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you, to cleanse you, that you may be clean from all your sins before Yahweh. It shall be a Sabbath of rest unto you, and you shall afflict your souls by a statute forever.
Okay. It shall be a statute forever, and you shall afflict your souls. This is a commanded fast, the only one I found in this book. A commanded fast from even to even. So we eat or drink no anything until this very same time tomorrow. So you keep your mind focused, because it's so easy to be doing something in habit and just reach over and grab something to drink, or grab a snack and throw it in your mouth, or do something like that. You need to consider those things, especially if you're doing things that go together. Meaning that if you normally sit down and work at your computer, and you got a cup of coffee, you're going to sit down at that computer, and you're going to reach for that cup of coffee. So be careful in your habit doing things, that you don't get into that habit, and before you know it, you just eat something. And understand, this is a commanded fast. So you say, well, you know, eating, it can't be that bad. Well, you know, Adam and Eve just took a bite.
One bite.
And look at how much hell we had to deal with because of that. Go ahead.
Verse 32. And the priest whom he shall anoint, and whom he shall consecrate to minister in the priest office in his father's stead, shall make the atonement, and shall put on the linen clothes, even the holy garments. And he shall make an atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tabernacle of the congregation, and for the altar, and he shall make an atonement for the priests and for all the people of the congregation. And this shall be an everlasting statute unto you, to make an atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as Yahweh commanded Moshe.
All right, let's go to Mark chapter 14. And Rebecca, I seen you over there motioning to me about, there was a lot of talk before about, some people saying, well, you shouldn't brush your teeth and stuff like that. When you get out in this book, it says that when a man fasts, don't appear unto men to fast. Anoint thine face with oil, so you at least look a certain way. So, you can go somewhere with your breath stank, so you can go around and just say, I'm fasting. It ain't all. I heard a lot of people saying all of those things. I mean, don't be no fool, and don't get to the point where you're hungry, so you go eating the toothpaste. Don't think you're gonna fool Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to be slick. Try to be slick somewhere else. Don't play with Yahweh. You can find somebody else to play with. Don't play with him. He is not to be played with. You need something to play with? Go get one of those little kid games. They got a lot of them down there. Okay, find you something else to play with, but don't play with Yahweh. That's not who you want to play with. Mark chapter 14 and verse 32 through 43.
Verse 32. And they came to a place which was named Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, Sit you here while I shall pray. And he taketh with him Peter and James and John, and began to be sore amazed, and to be very heavy.
Okay, that's Peter, James, and John, which is Cephas, Yaakov, and Johanna. That's their real names. Go ahead.
And saith unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death. Tarry you here and watch. And he went forward a little, and fell on the ground, and prayed that, if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible unto you. Take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, not that I will, but what you will. And he cometh and findeth him sleeping, and saith unto Cephas, Simeon, sleepest thou? Couldst you not watch 1 hour? Watch you and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and prayed and spake the same words. And when he returned, he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. Neither was they what to answer him. Where we go, 43?
Yeah.
And he cometh the third time and saith unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. It is enough. The hour is come. Behold, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise up, let us go. Lo, he that betrayeth me is at hand. And immediately while he yet spake, cometh Judas, one of the 12, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders.
Now, one of the things you're going to find here is Yahshua trying to go through, and he's praying to try to see if he can get out of sacrificing himself. And at the end, he realized that Yahweh said, no, you got to do this, because the goat on which Yahweh's lot fell must be sacrificed. That was Yahweh's goat. And he was asking, going through those things, trying to see if there was something that, he could do to get out of this. Let's jump to number 16.
Numbers 16. Numbers chapter 16, verse 42. And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moshe and against Aaron, that they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation, and behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of Yahweh appeared.
Now when the cloud covered the tabernacle, that is the glory of Yahweh right there at that particular point. Verse 43.
And Moshe and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation, and Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. and they fell upon their faces. And Moshe said unto Aaron, Take a censer, and put fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly unto the congregation, and make an atonement for them, for there is wrath gone out from Yahweh. The plague is begun. And Aaron took as Moshe commanded, and ran into the midst of the congregation, and behold, the plague was begun among the people. And he put on incense, and made an atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed. Now they that died in the plague were 14,700, beside them that died about the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moshe unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed.
So Moshe was the atonement in this particular situation, okay? That stayed off the plague. So when you find that he was not allowed to go into that land, this was one of those things that we had spoke about earlier about, you know, what was really the deal with Moshe. He did this one thing, and Yahweh said, no, you can't go in the land. Well, you find out that it was much deeper than that. What had to be offered, there was a scapegoat, and then there was a Yahweh's goat. Yahweh's goat had to be sacrificed. The other goat was let go in the wilderness by a fit man. The fit man was Joshua. The other goat was Israel that went through in the wilderness. Moshe couldn't go. He was Yahweh's goat, and that lot had fell on him. That's why he couldn't go in. Didn't have nothing to do with no sin that he had done. Now that's what Lucifer was arguing about. But Yahweh had already said, this is my goat. When he stood and made that atonement, it was a done deal anyway. He couldn't go. Go ahead, bro.
So by Moshe standing between life and death, he really stood in the breach and sacrificed. He was sacrificing his life before Yah in case to try and save the rest of the people.
No doubt. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. He stood in the breach. When he stood in the way, that angel couldn't kill them no more. But he became that sacrifice. Let's go to Hebrews 8.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 1. Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such a high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens.
Okay, so we have a high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens. There is the priest went in one time a year to make the atonement for the children of Israel. Well, our high priest Yahshua went into the holiest of holies one time to take care of that situation. Go ahead.
A minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Adonai pitched, and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moshe was admonished of Elohim when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that you make all things according to the pattern showed to you in the mount.
Now the pattern that was showed to them in the mount, we know are heavenly things. So you cannot change these things. You can't decide that you want to do something different. It doesn't work like that. When he showed them the pattern in the mount, he's giving them exact dimensions on how to build things, exact dimensions on how to set things up, because these things are in heaven. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. So you can't change these holy days. You can't decide, I'm going to keep this holy day, or I'm going to add me a holy day, which we know that people have done. Even the people who call themselves Israel, they have holy days that ain't in this book. Go ahead.
But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For the finding fault with them,
the people. Go ahead.
He saith, behold, the days come with the Adonai, when I will make a new covenant.
When I will make a new covenant. Go Go ahead.
with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda.
A lot of people believe they under the new covenant right now. Go ahead.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Adonai. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a Elohim, and they shall be to me a people.
Right, so we already know that the people ain't under that, because they said the law was nailed to the cross, and they don't believe that they have to keep the law. So we already know if the new covenant was here, you'd be all totally guilty anyway. So they want to use this and say, well, because we under the new covenant, we don't have to keep anything. Even when the new covenant is enjoined, He's going to write His laws into our hearts and minds. So that lets us know that the law still is not going to be nailed to the cross. Go ahead.
And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Adonai, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. For in that He saith, A new covenant He hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
All right, let's go to Exodus 30, verse 1 through 10.
So my brother, it even shows right there, even for those who think that the covenant, the covenant's no longer with Israel, it's still coming right back to Israel.
Of course it is.
So whether you think the covenant was taken away, it's still going to be theirs.
No doubt. It's to the Jew first, then to the Gentile. If the Jews don't get theirs, nobody gets theirs. If we don't attain unto our salvation, the whole earth going to be destroyed. Now, consider who would benefit from that. Those people don't like this place, no how. So, it would be very beneficial for him for the whole earth to be destroyed. He don't care nothing about it nowhere. Go ahead.
Would it be a strong thing to say that even though chapter 8, verse 1 talk about our high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, okay, when you talk about our Mashiach, I know that really blows away with also Hebrews chapter 1, when people think that the Archangel Michael is Yahshua.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, their whole religious organizations that are teaching that. They teach that Israel is cut off. They teach that they say Michael is Jesus. They got a lot of things going on, but this is also one of those things you'll find out that that organization was started by Gentiles, and you find more of us on the corner passing out them pamphlets. I've yet to see a Gentile that's one of them at all. So we must do all the groundwork for their organization, because all I see is us doing the work. But that organization was started by Gentiles who have absolutely no authority to teach whatsoever. So the Gentiles who have no authority to teach taught the Jews what they wanted to teach them, and now you got the people who don't know they Jews going from house to house spreading this various doctrine that they learn from an unaccredited source. And I tell you, when they said that Morris Brown lost his accreditation, you saw people flying out of there like it was going out of style. It was 3 people there, the lunchroom lady, the janitor, and one other dude. And nobody know who he was. And once they announced that the accreditation was gone, they got out of Dodge. Well, according to this book, you read Romans 9 verse 4, the only people that are credited to teach this word are the Hebrew Israelites. So why the whorehouse is so packed then?
Right.
Why is there so many people there? Learning from people who don't have accreditation from Yahweh to teach. Right. And we see why so many of them worship the adversary of the devil then. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 1. And you shall make an altar to burn incense upon. Of shittim wood shall you make it. A cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof. 4 squares shall it be, and 2 cubits shall be the height thereof. The horns thereof shall be of the same.
Now, understand, this is not just any old thing. Now there are certain situations and certain things where you can say, well, I might not be able to do this, so I can do that, and that will be okay. This ain't one of them. He says a cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof. You better not make it a cubit plus 1, or less than a cubit on this side. No, this right here, you're going to want to follow verbatim. Go ahead.
And you shall overlay it with gold, the top thereof, and the sides thereof round about, and the horns thereof. And you shall make unto it a crown of gold round about. And 2 golden rings shall you make to it under the crown of it, by the 2 corners thereof, upon the 2 sides of it shall you make it. And they shall be for places for the staves to bear it withal. And you shall make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold.
And you got rings and staves, and this is, of course, so that it can be carried without being touched. Go ahead.
And you shall put it before the veil that is by the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony, where I will meet with you. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning. When he dresseth the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lighteth the lamps at even, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before Yahweh, throughout your generations. You shall offer no strange incense thereon, no burnt sacrifices, nor meat offering, neither shall you pour drink offering thereon. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns, of it once in a year with the blood of the sin offering of atonements. Once in the year shall you make an atonement upon it throughout your generation. It is most holy unto Yahweh.
So we're talking about the most holy thing in that. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10. What we'll find, we can go back and forth from this Old Testament to this New Testament and find the same thing being done over and over again. Yahweh is doing the same thing. And it gets difficult for us because we look and we see the heathens are prospering from the evil things that they are doing. I mean, we have, and then our kids got to sit here and watch this. Because all of the rappers, I remember a time when it was open that the heavy metal people worshiped the adversary of the devil. This was open. I mean, this was known to us. I mean, we went to school with Gentiles who will openly tell you, yes, I worship the dark Lord. What? You do that? And that was normal. That was and that was just crazy to us. Well, now, all the rappers are doing. And this is all our kids listen to. Devil worship music. This is what's being pumped into their brain every day. Day in and day out. The rappers are throwing up Luciferian worship signs. So the kids think it's cool. So they right here throwing up Luciferian worship signs. It's a bad situation. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. Hebrews 10, bro.
Verse 1. For the law having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect. For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins. But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins every year. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. So
it was a covering, but it was not a full covering even in what he gave us. So just as Adam and Eve first covered themselves with fig leaves, but that was an insufficient covering. So Yahweh sacrificed an animal, shed that animal's blood, and then covered them with skins. He gave them a better covering. Go ahead.
Wherefore when he cometh into the world, he saith, sacrifice and offering You wouldest not, but a body have you prepared me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin you have had no pleasure. Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, to do the will of to do thy will, O Elohim. Above when he said sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offering for sin, you wouldest not, neither hath pleasure therein, which are offered by the law. Then said he, Lo, I come to do thy will, O Elohim. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. By the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahshua the Mashiach once for all. And every priest standeth daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of Elohim. From henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified. Wherefore the Holy Ghost also is a witness to us. For after he had said before, This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, saith the Elohim,
says
Yahweh, I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them.
Here it is again. Go ahead.
And their sins and iniquities will I remember no more. Now, where remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin.
Right.
Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Yahshua, by a new and living way, which he hath consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh. And having a high priest over the house of Elohim, let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water.
Baptism.
Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works.
Now we have a problem considering one another. We consider ourselves. Verse 25.
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
Now understand, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. Yahweh has ordained for us to have holy convocation. Now, some people will take that one step further and start worshiping buildings. This is not about the building itself, but you do have to assemble. Go ahead.
As the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
Well, I've been like this. I'm just like this. Okay? For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remains no more sacrifice for sin. So don't even worry about getting that nails taken care of. Because you say, well, this is how I am, this is how I've been, this is how I'm going to be. Okay, well, ain't no need to worry about that nails then. Go ahead and do it how you like it. Go ahead.
But a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries.
There you go, right there. Go ahead.
He that despised Moshe's law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. And of how much sorrow punishment, suppose you, shall he be thought worthy? Who that trodden under foot the Son of Elohim, and hath counted the blood of the covenant, wherewith he was sanctified, an holy thing, and hath done despite unto the Spirit of grace.
Now they say, God is love. He is so much love. Oh, I just love him. Right here, verse 28 says, he that despised Moshe's law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Now that was hard. Well, check this out. Of how much sorrow punishment, suppose you, shall he be thought worthy, who have trodden under the foot the Son of Elohim, and have counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified, an unholy thing, and have done despite unto the Spirit of grace. So you thought Moshe was hard. You don't have a clue how hard this gonna be. But yet they say, he is love. Go ahead.
For he knoweth him that saith, vengeance belongeth unto me. I will recompense, saith Yahweh, and again Yahweh shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim. but call to remembrance the former days, in which after you were illuminated, you endured a great fight of afflictions. Partly whilst you were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions, and partly whilst you became companions of them that were so used.
We don't like afflictions though. See? Partly while you were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions. And we don't understand those afflictions are those sacrifices. Those are the things that we have to go through. But see, we don't want to go through nothing though. Go ahead.
For you had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that you have in heaven a better and enduring substance.
For you had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods. When those apostles got together, they did what? First of all, they had those churches in various houses spread all over the place. All right, those people sold all their belongings, put the money into a pot, and split everything equal, having whatever they needed to go to places where they needed to go. We have a problem with that because we deal in me, mine, and mine. Read.
Cast not away therefore your confidence, which hath great recompense of reward. For you have need of patience, that after you have done the will of Elohim, you might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come, and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him.
No man that puts his hand to the plow and look back is fit for the kingdom. Go ahead.
But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul.
Let's go to Exodus chapter 30 again, and now read verses 11 through 21. Exodus 30, verse 11 through 21.
Verse 11. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, When thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall you give every man a ransom for his soul unto Yahweh. Then thou numberest them.
When you numbers them.
When you numberest them, that there be no plague among them, when thou numberest them.
Alright, so he said when you take the sum of the children of Israel, when you count the children of Israel, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto Yahweh when you number them, that there be no plague among them when you number them. So when you number the children of Israel, there has to be atonement money. Go ahead.
This they shall give, every one that passeth among them that are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs, and half a shekel shall be the offering of Yahweh. Every one that passed among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto Yahweh.
Why 20 years old and above? They are men, they are able to go to war. Very correct. Go ahead.
The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when they give an offering unto Yahweh to make an atonement for their souls.
So in other words, a man's soul was the same price, whether you were rich or poor. Yahweh didn't take no, well, I don't have this. Now, normally, we know that it says the woman who gave the most was the one that gave the little 2 mites, so it looked like it was nothing. So in that, he counted her little bit great. When it came for the atonement of this soul, everybody had to offer the same thing.
So you didn't want to copy your double twos?
No, he didn't ask for your W-2 for soul atonement. But I wouldn't try that in today's congregations. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 16. And you shall take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shall appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, that it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before Yahweh, to make an atonement for your souls. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, You shall also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass, to wash withal. And you shall put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and you shall put water therein. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat. When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, that they die not. Or when they come near the altar to minister, to burn offering made by fire unto Yahweh. So they shall wash their hands and their feet, and that they die not. And it shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations.
Now, when we find during that Passover, Yahshua went to wash their brother's feet. The brother said, "Don't wash my feet, man. I don't feel right with you washing my feet." He said, "Man, if I don't wash your feet, brother, you have no part in me." Boom. Let's go to 2 Samuel 24. See, the Messiah wasn't just doing stuff just to be doing stuff now. Don't think he was just hanging around being cool and groovy. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was following his father's law. You can't go in and minister. You got to clean yourself. That was a spiritual cleansing. Washing your hands and washing your feet. That's why he did that. And this is why we have to do it to one another. So the same thing you find him doing, people say, "I don't know why he did that." Go back in the front of the book. You'll find out. And if it was nailed to the cross, what are you doing it for? What are you setting up all this stuff for? He going to be our example. Why is he doing all this? It didn't add up. It don't add up. 2 Samuel chapter 24.
Verse 1. And again the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, "Go number Israel and Yehudah."
Now, who was Yahweh mad with?
Israel.
Israel.
Yep. He was mad with Israel. So since he was mad with Israel, he moved David to go and number the children of Israel. That's what happened when you in charge of something. Everybody want to be in charge. Don't be in charge, right? Okay? You got to deal with the good and the bad. Go ahead.
For the king said to Joab, the captain of the host, which was with him, "Go now throughout all the tribes of Israel, from Dan even to Beersheba, and number you the people, that I may know the number of the people." And Joab said unto the king, "Now Yahweh thy Elohim add unto the people, how many soever they be, an hundredfold, and that the eyes of my Adonai the king may see it. But why doth my Adonai the king delight in this thing?"
Alright, because he already know this thing is wicked. So, understand, in one place, it say, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against him. I think if you go to Chronicles and read the same thing, it'll say, and Satan stood up against David and moved him to number the people. They say, man, it's a contradiction. No, Yahweh was angry with the people, so he sent Satan over there to go move him to counter people. It ain't no contradiction. What you think, Yahweh went there himself? No, I got some evil to do. Hey, Satan, come on over here, Lou. I got a job for you. Go down there and tell that boy down there to count them people for me. All right, I got you, Yahweh. I'd love to do some evil. Woo-hoo. Been waiting for this. Right. Go ahead.
And seeing that he knew it was going to bring destruction to the people.
Exactly. It was a win-win. So you mean tell me I go down there and deceive him, right? Then after I deceive him, you going to get ticked off. And then you going to kill some people? Oh, man, you should have called me yesterday. I'd already been there. Go ahead.
Notwithstanding the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the captains of the host. And Joab and the captains of the host went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Israel. And they passed over Jordan and pitched in Aror on the right side of the city that lieth in the midst of the river of Gad and toward Yezer. Then they came to Gilead and to the land of Tatim Hodshai. And they came to Dadyan and about to Zidon, and came to the stronghold of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites and of the Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Yehudah, even to Beersheba. So when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. And Joab gave up the sum of the number of the people unto the king. And there were in Israel 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword. And the men of Yehudah were 500,000 men. And David's heart smote him after that he had numbered the people. And David said unto Yahweh, I have sinned greatly in that I have done. And now I beseech thee, O Yahweh, take away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly.
The same thing happened to us. When that demon want to get ready to do you something, he like a bullfighter with that little red thing on it. Underlay, underlay. As soon as that demon get through with you, he snatched that little thing off and you go running through. What have I done? The demon done that. All right, boy, you deal with that. He done got you to do what he needed you to do. Understand that them demons are spirits. We spend our time being mad at individuals. See? This brother get into it with that brother right there. So then he said, oh man, I ain't gonna deal with that brother over there in the back in that brown shirt. He done made me mad. Now the demon leave that brother and go to another brother. So now you spending that time mad at that brother, and then you go and pull this other brother over to the side. Yeah, man, I don't like that brother. Now the demon in him, the dude you talking to, yeah, man, that brother hurt me. And the demon said, he did? I would never do that to you. Come down here, come down here. Let me show you something. Now he finna slay you again. Then you gonna be mad at that brother and go seek the comfort of some sister. Now the demon done left that brother and sitting in that sister and said, them two people over there, they hurt me. And the demon said, say they did. Come down here. Right. That demon slaying you. And you going from person to person looking for refuge. And it's the same demon. But you keep seeing different people. Demons jump. Go ahead.
Verse 11. For when David was up in the morning, the word of Yahweh came into the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and say unto David, Thus saith Yahweh, I offer thee 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto you. So Gad came to David and told him, and said unto him, Shall 7 years of famine come unto you in thy land?
Now understand, this is the showing of a true leader. Now, I've seen people that call themselves leaders, and when it got to something hard, they tucked their tail between their legs and put their head down and walked out the door. Go ahead.
Or will you flee 3 months before thine enemies, while they pursue you? Or that there be 3 days pestilence in thy land? Now advise and see what answer I shall return to him that sent me. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let us fall now into the hand of Yahweh, for his mercies are great. And let me not fall into the hand of man. So Yahweh sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed. And there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, Yahweh repented him of the evil, and said to the angel that destroyed the people, It is enough. Stay now thy hand. And the angel of Yahweh was by the threshing place of Aruna, the Jebusite.
So Yahweh was setting basically what was the holy site where he stopped killing people at. This ended in the land of Jerusalem, as it was Judah, that they was counting at the end, right when he got through with them. That was when his heart smote him after he had done numbered the people. Now, the angel is tearing up. Now, of course, now the people see something natural, or whatever it is they see. Whatever the pestilence is, whatever that is, that's, just put whatever, little storm you want to put in there. They say, oh, it was an earthquake. Oh, no, it was a hurricane. No, it wasn't. It was a volcano. You put whatever you want to put in there. It was the angel of Yahweh tearing people up. That's what it was. So you can see whatever it is you saw. It was Yahweh, the angel of Yahweh, taking care of that business. Go ahead.
And David spake unto Yahweh when he saw the angel that smote the people, and said, Lo, I have sinned, and I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, I pray thee, be against me, and against my father's house.
Now, the truth of the matter is, go back to the front. All right. Now, this is a true leader. He put himself in the breach for these people. But go back to verse 1. And again, the anger of Yahweh was kindled against who? Israel. Right. So Israel was off into something they had no business off into. And the king had paid for Right. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting, my brother? Dawid saw the angel.
Right. They still saw the natural thing that they was having problems with. But he saw the angel tearing them up and said, why do you do this? Let the problem be upon me. Let it be upon me in my house. Yahweh wasn't angry with him to start with. He was angry with the people. Yet I've seen people that call themselves leaders, and it was a plague amongst the camp. Them brothers grabbed their bag and said, hey, yo, take it easy. Skibbity bop. Walk right out the door. Left that plague in there, tearing them people up, and they in their car listening to music. Do 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 do, skibbity bop. People dying and screaming back there. Supposed to be the holiest day of the year. They got a chicken bone stuck in their mouth. Why? Because a dude threatened them and said, you better not come with a fast. You better bring some food. You better come with a feast. And all the leaders walked out the door. Skibbity bop. Grabbed their kids. Grabbed their bag. Went on about their business. Didn't say a thing. Moshe stood in between. Dawid standing here saying, let it happen to me in my house. Yahweh wasn't even mad with him. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And Gad came that day to Dawid and said unto him, go up, rear an altar unto Yahweh in the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And Dawid, according to the saying of Gad, went up as Yahweh commanded. And Araunah looked and saw the king and his servants coming on toward him. Araunah went out and bowed himself before the king on his face upon the ground. And Araunah said, wherefore is my Adonai the king come to his servant? And Dawid said, to buy the threshing floor of thee, to build an altar unto Yahweh, that the plague may be stayed from the people. And Araunah said unto Dawid, let my Adonai the king take an offer up, that seemeth good unto him. Behold, here be oxen for burnt sacrifice, and threshing instruments, and other instruments of the oxen for wood. All these things did Araunah as a king give unto the king. And Araunah said unto the king, Yahweh thy Elohim accept thee. And the king said unto Araunah, no, but I will surely buy it of thee at a price. Neither will I offer burnt offerings unto Yahweh my Elohim of that which doth cost me nothing.
Right.
So Dawid bought the threshing floor, the oxen, and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver.
Right. Remember now, when he count, you must offer the atonement money. He says, I can't offer up to Yahweh something that didn't cost me. I got to pay for this. I got to. You got to let me buy this. Go ahead.
And Dawid built there an altar unto Yahweh, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So Yahweh was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel.
All right. Let's go to Numbers 25. Numbers 25 and verse 1 through 11. Now understand, all of these things were the living embodiment of atonement. You talk about Moshe standing in the breach before those people. Dawid having to do what he did to stop that plague that came amongst the people. We're talking about that atonement stops those things. But we have to ask ourselves, are we dealing with that atonement in the right way? So you have to deal with Yahweh with a pure heart, fervently. You can't come any old way to Yahweh and deal with any old thing. Numbers 25 and verse 1 through 11.
Verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods.
And this is why Yahweh said don't marry the strange women. It's because he knew Israel was weak. It wasn't the whole thing of the strange women. Because we know that Israel has married foreign women before. But a strange woman and a foreign woman ain't necessarily the same thing. See, we said, oh, don't marry that strange woman. Strange woman worship another god. Woman woman can be foreign and still worship the God of Israel.
Praise God.
Silly Negro. Read.
And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Israel. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before Yahweh against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahweh may be turned away from Israel. And Moshe said unto the judges of Israel, slay you every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor.
Because understand, it says in the front, and Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. So they started dating the women, and then they started worshiping the gods of the women. No. See, that's Israel's problem. We're going to marry somebody strange and then let them pick the worship doctrine of the house. Bad idea. Bad idea. Go ahead.
And behold, one of the children of Israel came out and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moshe, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Now, this is where it's going to seem like it's a little bit of hypocrisy going on up in here. Because it says they brought a Midianitish woman before Moshe. Now, you do know Moshe was married to an Egyptian, right? Now, this don't look good at all. Because he got an Egyptian woman, or Ethiopian, whatever you want. He got him a strange woman, a foreign woman, on his side. And then this brother about to get in trouble about a strange woman. But the difference is, Moshe controlled the biblical doctrine in his house. Read.
And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
That's some cold, hard stuff right here. So hold on now. This a priest doing this. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest. We're talking of the priestly lineage that came in and took care of this business. Yet what I saw, people ducking their heads down, walking out the door, dealing with nothing. Look at what the priest did when there was problems amongst the children of Israel. Read.
And those that died in the plague were 20 and 4,000. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, had turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them. And I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy.
So, you know what? Keep reading.
Wherefore say, behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and he shall have it, and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood.
Right.
Because he was zealous for his Elohim,
right,
and made an atonement for the children of Israel.
There you go. That was an atonement thrust through the woman and the guy, and that was atonement that cut off that plague and made it stop from destroying the children of Israel. So we have to remember these things of how serious the atonement is, children of Israel, because all of these things are a practice, are a true practice, because this is the natural embodiment of the spiritual things that we are dealing with, because each one of these holy days plays a step in the reconciliation of the children of Israel back unto Yahweh. So at the end, the last feast, tabernacles, we can tabernacle with Yahshua in peace for 1,000 years. So the last holy day that we keep will be the last holy day spiritually in the whole setup. So that holy day, those holy days that we keep all of them within 1 year. But spiritually, each one came at designated times. And we're coming up to keeping the tabernacles, which will be when Yahshua returns, set forth the things that he's got to set forth. And then once he puts all of those things down, we know that trumpets bring forth judgments. Once those judgments happen, Israel has their opportunity to repent, has their opportunity to be presented to Yahweh without that sin, then we can tabernacle in peace for 1,000 years. So remember, this is a Sabbath, and we are commanded to have a fast to afflict your souls from even to even. No food or water until this time tomorrow, and understand that we go from a Sabbath to another Sabbath. All right? So remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Understand what that means. When it says the Sabbath, it's not just about not going to the store. It says on the Sabbath, we ain't even supposed to speak our own words. I hear some of the conversations that we get into Israel, and it gets awfully un-Sabbath-like. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. So remember and pay attention to the words that are coming out of this thing here. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.